Welcome back to the show. It's been a busy few weeks here at Safeguard Recruiting, and we're thankful that you've decided to spend a few minutes with us here today. I have once again back on the show COO Doug Larson, Safeguard Recruiting. Doug, how are you doing?
Doing excellent.
Well, man, I know you've been crisscrossing the country and you've been talking to a lot of different departments. And what are you hearing out there? I mean, it's obviously a very chaotic time if you just watch the news, but what are you kind of hearing from the folks out there?
Yeah, it's kind of all over the place. Some departments are doing quite well with their recruiting and getting their staffing levels up. And then, you still have some that are struggling too.
And I think the one thing that I know is we have a lot of internal talks about here at Safeguard Recruiting is the basics, right? And one of those basics is the first presence that people see when they look at your department, which is the website. What's the first thing they see? And that's extremely important because that's the first impression that any potential candidate or applicant is going to have. What's the website look like? How easy is it to navigate? And I think overall, I'm not sure we're getting much more than a C minus right now. What's your thoughts on that?
That would be something I would suggest a lot of departments do, is doing an audit of what that first impression is and how hard is it for me to get information on how to apply or even apply, and take it even steps further. Have you tried that yourself? Have you tried to email yourself? Because we've run across a lot of those where the email addresses don't even work too. And so when you have candidates trying to get a hold of you, trying to come to work for you, and they can't because of your website, I mean, that's a pretty big leak for you.
Yeah, and one thing that we do internally, and I would recommend it to every agency out there is test what you're doing with a third party. Get your kid or get someone that's not in the police department and say, hey, go to our website and tell me what you think, or go to the website and try to apply to tell me what you think. Because sometimes if you're within an agency, you're too close to it. Of course, you understand the website, you know what the links mean, but that's not who's trying to apply. They don't know anything about your department. And so test that out and then test that whole process out. I know we typically will test a process of a new client and kind of without them knowing it, we'll just go in and kind of try to apply and see what that process looks like. And oftentimes we find things that are broken that the client doesn't even know about.
Yeah, we do. We do a lot of testing that way, and we even do it on our own stuff, constantly testing, make sure forms and that work and capture the proper information and gets to the right people. And you should be doing that too with your own website. And I love the advice of having somebody that isn't familiar with it, ask them to go in and look for some information or apply for the job. Some of these places, when you get on there and you try and find how to apply, it gets lost in a sea of other jobs for that municipality, that county, that state. And man, we only get one shot with a person. If we got them on there looking, we want to keep them and we want to keep them engaged. We don't want to make them work hard for it, and then maybe they decide to come back later and they never do come back and fill that application out. But that would be my advice right now, is do an audit of your own system and see how hard it is, see how outdated your website looks and your information looks, because that is your first impression. That's the window into your department. And let's put a good foot forward so it's really engaging with the person that wants to work for you.
Well, I mean, I know we do this a lot for folks, and folks that just reach out to us and they say, hey, can you take a look at what we're doing? We do that for no cost, Doug. We just talk to them and we'll go to their website, we'll look at their process, and we'll just come back to them and give them some suggestions. We've had plenty of people do that. They don't hire us, but they just want to get that done. So, I mean, we'll do that. Like I said, I think sometimes we're way too close to it and we think it's fine. Well, you really need to get some expertise on there to try to really take a look at that, because we know what converts and what doesn't convert. We've run hundreds of these campaigns. And so if anyone's listening or watching this, just reach out and say, here's my website, here's what we're doing. Can you give us some tips here? We'd be glad to do that, would we not?
Oh yeah, we'd love to do that. We'd love to engage with you and talk about best practices and just hear what you're doing. We always like to have that dialogue going with a number of different folks, because we learn too from it. And anything we can do, any advice we can pass on and help out, and that's what we're here for.
Let's get back to websites briefly, because I think sometimes it almost seems overwhelming. So if you're, department A, B, or C, and your website looks like it was built in the 90s, right? It's pretty clunky. It may be overwhelming. You think, A, this is going to be really expensive, or B, this is going to be really too technical, or whatever it is. And the truth is, building a website in 2026 is not like it's 1996. It's not rocket science to do. And we obviously do that routinely for our clients. But the other thing is focusing on what that website needs to do. We put a lot of emphasis on the appearance and the aesthetics, right? Lots of fancy graphics and moving videos, but that doesn't necessarily compute to more applicants, does it?
No, it doesn't at all. And the kind of traffic you get on that website, where they hang out on your website, and the information that you can get from that person, very important feature for that website. And that's something we can help with a lot, because we specialize in that. If you've got interest coming to your website, we want to capture enough information from the person, and we want to give them enough information to be able to keep engaged and go forward in the process. It's very important. It's got to be done right, because you see a lot of fancy websites out there that aren't doing anything for a department. So a few little tweaks there, a few changes, and you can have this website producing a lot of candidates for you.
Yeah, one of the stories, Doug, that I like to talk to clients about when they talk to us about this is I have them go check out Asheville PD's website. It's joinashvillepd.com. And here's the story. They came to us, and this website had been built about 2 years earlier. And when you go to the website, it looks phenomenal. It looked phenomenal when we looked at it. But here was the problem. They had only converted, they think, 2 people to express interest over 2 years. And they had spent a tremendous amount of resources on this website, and they were kind of, I wouldn't say they were confused, but they were frustrated, because they thought internally, well, the website looks great. Why isn't anybody applying in Asheville? And of course, what we did, Doug, and once they came on board as a client, and they're still one of our great clients, it's a great department, great people to work with, is we kind of left the main ingredients of the website alone, but we put certain things on that page in certain different areas, because we have all the research and the technology folks that know, hey, yeah, we want a website that looks good, but we need it to convert. And they are converting about 1 a day from the website alone. They're not spending money for that. It's just organic conversion from their website alone. And if you could grab 30 candidates, 30 interested people a month just off your website, that's why you should be building a website. So if someone's out there with a website they think is great, but you're not seeing people routinely coming through that website saying they want to work for you, give us a call. Let us take a look at it. It may be as easy as moving a few elements around, putting a lead magnet in a certain place, testing out those elements. And then, of course, we sync all that with that Asheville. We sync it all with Safeguard Connect. So it's seamless for them. They just go to the software and the names just come right through. They don't have to go to an email and copy things over. It comes right in on the software. Let's talk about the value of that, of having our Safeguard Connect, which is our applicant tracking system, attached into the website, and it just leads those names all the way through it.
Yeah, it's very powerful, and it's a time saver. So it drives efficiency for the department, and it gets everything lined up in the categories and the swim lanes you need it for, to be able to help that person and work that person through the process all the way to application and hire. So when we have a website set like Asheville's, the way theirs is, it dumps into Connect. The recruiter instantly gets an alert that somebody new is in there. They can communicate with them individually through email, from text, and then they can do a bulk too as they move them through the journey of applying and coming to work for the department. And it will save you time. It will save you a lot of time if you set it up that way. It's very efficient, and let's keep people from leaving their phone, leaving whatever method they are accessing your website and giving you some information. Let's keep them engaged with us, and Connect does that very efficiently. And then it kicks in our automatic nurturing program that gives them information on what the process, what they expect, what dates are coming up. It's a very powerful tool, and it converts a lot for folks.
Yeah, anytime someone gets an annual license for Connect, we automatically will assist them with that website integration and even moving those elements for them that comes with that. And you talked about nurturing, Doug. We're getting a little bit of the communication angle of it. That's very powerful, because someone can express interest on your website, and immediately as it goes through Safeguard Connect, they start getting emails and text from the recruiter, but it's not the recruiter doing it, right? It's just automated messaging that we've worked with that recruiter to see what they want to say. And so the recruiter, instead of having to spend time having to track all these folks down and keep messaging, we put that on a calendar schedule to where we know how often that needs to happen to get the most engagement. And man, that's been a big success with our clients, has it not?
Big game changer, big time saver. And in the end, what it does is it keeps more people engaged. It keeps them from falling out of your process, which is so important because to us, it's not as scary to apply for a job in law enforcement. To somebody from the outside, they don't understand all the steps and what's going to happen and what's coming up on the calendar, what I need to prepare for, what information I need to have gathered. And this is a great way to keep them engaged and keep them full of knowledge and work them into the culture of your department.
It's good stuff. Doug Larson, Safeguard Recruiting. How can they contact you? I guess go straight to the website and just hit a contact button and we'll get it over to you.
Yeah, straight to the website, and we'd love to talk to you.
SafeguardRecruiting.com. Thanks so much, Doug. And if you've been watching, you've been listening, we'll see you next time.